Hi guys, I'm Myra with Atomic Baby Cosplay, and today I'm going to talk about how to read your pattern guide. So first, I'm going to be putting in inset pictures over here because I think it'll be a little bit easier for you guys to see what I'm doing and what I'm talking about if it's over here rather than me trying to hold up a piece of paper, right? So the first thing you're going to look at when you see the inside of your pattern guide, you're going to see some basic black and white outlines of the costume you're going to be making. This will give you an idea of exactly what it's going to look like in the end without being distracted by all of those like fancy trims and fabrics that are on the outside of your pattern, right? It'll also help you determine which style of the pattern you want to make. Many patterns come with a like dress A, dress B, dress C, so it'll help you make a decision between dress A, B, and C. Keep in mind, on Thursday I'm going to talk about how you can mush some of these together to create a Franken pattern. Next, you're going to notice that it has all of your pieces laid out for you. So it's going to tell you exactly what pieces you need to create which one of the dresses that you selected. So in this case, you can see on the list that it has each piece labeled with a number, and then that number at the end, it has a letter, and that letter tells you which dress it makes, A, B, or C. Sometimes pattern pieces are used in multiple dresses because they have similar shapes. So just like when you decide you're going to make a new recipe for the first time, I highly recommend reading through all of your pattern directions before you get started on a project. It helps you to kind of get an idea and a feel of how all the pieces are going to fit together and know where you might need to make some alterations. Once you do that, the next section you're going to want to take a look at is the general directions. This is going to give you a lot of the information you need to be able to create the pattern. For instance, under the section cutting/marking, it's going to tell you exactly what you need to prepare for before you even cut out your pieces. It's also going to tell you what to do after you cut out your pieces, like how to transfer those markings. It gives you specific directions on how to do that. Almost every pattern comes with this information. And on that note with your cutting, it also has cutting layouts. So depending on which pattern you selected and the width of your fabric, it's going to tell you how to most effectively cut out the pattern pieces that you're going to need to make your garment. You're also going to find that it has a kind of a map for you. It has a pattern markings map. What that's going to mean is it's going to tell you what all those little symbols on the pieces of paper mean. It's going to give you specific examples of exactly what to do when you encounter all those symbols. What it means to cut on the fold, what to do when you encounter those little triangles, what to do when you see a little dot. It's going to tell you what those symbols mean so that you know what to do with your pattern. It's also going to have a section called sewing that's going to give you your sewing directions for the pattern. This is a super important section because it tells you what the seam allowance for your project is, and that tells you where you want to stitch your fabric when you're sewing it through your sewing machine. So if it has a 5/8 inch seam allowance, which is the most common, then you're going to sew it on your sewing machine. There'll be a little marking guide on the foot plate, and that's going to tell you where your 5/8 inch mark is. I have some tips and tricks for that, but it's going to be in a future video for how to keep track of where your seam allowance is when you're doing a project. And then lastly, some patterns also give you kind of a cheat sheet for any of the special terms they're going to be using in the pattern. So most often that cheat sheet includes things like slip stitch. It'll include understitching, what that means and how to do it. So how they designate that for you is usually it'll be in all caps. So in your directions, it'll tell you step 4, understitch the lining to the bodice as far as you can. When it tells you that, you're going to see that understitch is usually in all caps, and that will be your clue that they're going to give you directions for that on the front of the pattern packet. So it'll be over with that like sewing directions guide. So you'll just go back over there and it'll tell you exactly what understitch means. I will also say that if it does not do that in your pattern, because not all do, like this example of a pattern that I used does not include that section. So if your pattern doesn't include that section, all you need to do is just hop onto Google and Google how to understitch. What is understitch? And you should see lots of tutorials that'll tell you exactly how to do the thing that you're trying to do. I highly recommend having a phone or a laptop or something open near you so that you can quickly hop onto Google and Google any terms you're not sure about, just to make sure that you're being able to do your pattern properly the first time. So that's how you read the inside of a pattern packet. Now, the last bit of advice I'm going to leave you with is that I highly recommend doing a mock-up if it's a really complicated pattern. So a mock-up is basically you take muslin or old bed sheets or something and you cut out all your pattern pieces, or most of them. You don't have to cut out lining pieces and you don't have to necessarily cut out facing pieces, but you cut out all your pattern pieces and then you follow the directions to sew a quick mock-up. You don't need to worry about finishing your seams, you don't need to worry about hems, you don't need to worry about linings. But it'll give you an idea, first, how the pattern fits you and if you need to alter it anywhere. And second, anything that's kind of a more complicated step, like maybe you've never done darts before or pleats before, it'll give you a chance to practice before you really do them on your expensive fabric. So that's all I have for you today, guys. If you liked what you saw today, definitely click subscribe so you can catch up on more videos. On Thursday, I'll be talking about Franken patterns and how to mash up patterns to make the exact thing that you want. And then also keep in mind that if you'd like to learn more about patterns and how to work with patterns, come check out our free sewing group. I'll have a link in the description bar down below. It's totally free, and this week we're talking about patterns. Next week we're going to be talking all about the tools of the trade, and the following week is all the basics of working with a sewing machine. So make sure you come and join our free group. I'd love to have you as a part of our community. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!